The sun dipped behind the aging rooftops of Quiapo, glowing orange over the restless streets as vendors packed away their remaining goods. Jeepneys pushed through the traffic with impatient honks, trying to claim whatever space they could. Amid the chaos, on a piece of worn cardboard near a lamppost, sat Lola Rosario. At 87, her back curved like a tired question mark as she leaned over an old wooden guitar. She guarded more fiercely than any other possession. The guitar was chipped, the varnish long faded, but she wiped it clean every day with the edge of her cardigan, as if tending to the last relic of a life that had slipped out of her hands. Beside her sat 4-year-old Amara, cross-legged, her ukulele resting on her small lap. The little instrument was bright with stickers of stars and butterflies, a gift from a fruit vendor who had watched the child tag along the streets day after day. Amara treated it like something sacred, sleeping with it pressed against her chest, as though letting go of it would mean losing a part of herself. Lola plucked her guitar strings one at a time, testing each note with trembling fingers. Age made her hands unsteady, and the cold creeping into the evenings did the rest. She glanced at Amara and whispered, almost breathless, "And Hakana." The girl nodded quickly, her pigtails bouncing, and shuffled closer. They had spent weeks practicing this duet under a bridge, humming over the noise of trucks, letting soft melodies drown out the hard truth of their days. Music wasn't just a way to earn coins, it was how they held themselves together. Most people walked past them without a glance. Everyone had their own worries, their own exhaustion. But when Lola strummed the first gentle chord, something in the air shifted. The melody floated out fragile but sincere, thin as thread yet strong enough to tug at the senses. Amara joined in with simple, imperfect chords, her voice soft and pure, vibrating with a kind of innocence that couldn't be faked. A few pedestrians slowed. A vendor paused mid-pack. A jeepney driver leaned out of his window, his irritation melting for a moment. Students lowered their phones. One by one, people stopped because the sound felt personal, like a childhood lullaby or a forgotten memory resurfacing. Lola's eyes glistened, not from smoke or fatigue, but from the weight of years. She had lost so much. Children who had drifted away, a home swallowed by poverty, a life that had shrunk to wandering corners of Manila with only a child for company. Yet when she looked at Amara singing beside her, she felt a spark of hope she thought age had stolen from her. Coins clinked into their tin can, but they didn't stop to notice. The music mattered more than what it earned. As they continued, the street around them softened. Vendors stopped shouting prices. Drivers paused their honking. A small crowd formed naturally, drawn by something gentle in a city that rarely slowed down. A ballot vendor left his cart for a moment, unable to ignore the way the old woman poured her strength into the guitar, or the way the child's voice fluttered like a candle flame in the dark. A young woman near the front wiped quiet tears, thinking of her grandmother who used to sing her to sleep. Even a group of teenagers, usually immune to sentiment, glanced at each other, confused at why their chests felt heavier than before. "Nakakayak naman," someone whispered.
"Pering may kwento boses nila," another replied. Lola closed her eyes as they sang, letting memories guide the notes. Nights under borrowed roofs, days when they survived on nothing but water, moments when fear threatened to swallow her whole. But beside her, Amara hummed with a simple courage that steadied her heartbeat. By now, over 30 people had gathered. Cars slowed. Tourists lingered. The song crept into the cracks of the busy street, turning it into a brief sanctuary. When the final chord faded, the silence that followed was thick, almost holy. Then a single clap started, joined by another, until applause echoed all around them. Some wiped tears, others simply smiled. People didn't feel like they had watched a street performance. They felt like they had witnessed someone's soul uncovered. Their world changed faster than either of them could understand. A recording from that night reached places far beyond Quiapo, and soon they found themselves standing under the blinding lights of America's Got Talent. The massive theater towered over them, overwhelming in every way. Amara's small hand clung tightly to Lola's. Lola whispered, steadying her, "Hiwa kang matakot apo, sabi ko kaya natin." The judges' table glowed under the stage lights. Heidi smiled with warm curiosity. Sophia clasped her hands. Simon leaned forward, studying them carefully, as if trying to understand the story behind their weary faces.
Hello, Simon said. Could you introduce yourselves?
Lola bowed slightly.
I am Rosario from the Philippines, and this is my apo, Amara. We sing on the streets. This is our first time on a stage like this.
A murmur passed through the audience. Sophia brushed away a tear. Simon nodded gently. Take your time. We're glad you're here. Lola raised her guitar, hands shaking. She strummed a soft chord, thin but full of emotion. Amara stepped closer, lifted her ukulele, and hummed the same melody that once floated through Quiapo's dusty air. Only now, in the vast hall, the sound expanded, blooming like something that had been waiting for the right moment. The harmony between them wasn't perfect, but perfection wasn't the point. It felt human, raw, unmistakably honest. Midway through the song, Amara looked up and gave her grandmother a small, trusting smile. Lola's voice cracked just slightly, and the entire room felt the truth behind that break. Years of hardship held together by the thin thread of love. When the final note dissolved, silence hung in the air like a held breath. Then the entire room rose to its feet. Applause thundered, not loud with excitement, but deep with emotion. Amara hid behind Lola's leg, overwhelmed. Lola bowed again and again, whispering thanks through tears. Simon stayed seated for a moment, something shifting behind his usually controlled expression. When he finally stood, he spoke quietly but firmly. That was one of the most beautiful performances we've ever had. You reminded us what music really means. Then he reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. The explosion of gold confetti fell around them like a miracle. The crowd roared, but Lola heard only the sound of Amara laughing, covered in shimmering flakes of gold. For the first time in years, the world didn't just see them, they embraced them. Not with pity, with love.